It was my third night on the graveyard shift at St. Luke's Hospital. They called it graveyard for a reason, not because of the time, but because of what the halls remembered. The corridors were empty, lined with flickering fluorescent lights that buzzed like distant flies, the kind of quiet that felt too alive. The air smelled like disinfectant and something else. Something old. The clock on the wall said 2:13 a.m. I poured myself another cup of stale coffee in the break room and stared at the reflection in the dark window. For a second, I could have sworn my reflection smiled, even though I didn't. I shook it off. Lack of sleep. That's all. The call from room 413, Nurse Bailey to room 413. The voice crackled over the intercom. Soft but clear. My blood went cold. Room 413 had been empty since the renovation, sealed off after a patient's incident. The others joked it was haunted. I didn't believe in that. Until that night, I pressed the button on my walkie. Copy that. Room 413 is restricted. Is this a test? No response. Just static. Subscribe for more true horror, because darkness never sleeps. Then again, clearer this time. The same voice but slower, almost whispering directly into my ear. Nurse Bailey. Room 413. That was my name. I froze. The speaker wasn't on anymore, but I heard it right behind me. The door that shouldn't open. My shoes squeaked down the long hallway. Every light above me flickered in sequence as I passed, like something was following me from the ceiling. I reached the end of the corridor. Room 413. A faded sign read, nitrogen monoxide entry under maintenance. The door was taped shut, the edges covered in dust. No way anyone had gone in there in months, but the doorknob was cold and wet. I pulled the tape away slowly. The smell hit first, metal, bleach, and rot. The air was freezing, like stepping into a walk-in morgue. The room was empty, except for a hospital bed in the corner and a patient chart lying open on the table. I picked it up. Name: Bailey Thompson. Admitted, October 12th. Status: deceased. Time of death: 2:13 a.m. My coffee cup slipped from my hand. It's shattered. I checked my watch. 2:13 a.m. The patient in the bed. Subscribe for more true horror, because darkness never sleeps. The bed's curtain moved. Slowly, someone was sitting up behind it. I backed toward the door. Hello? Are you? A hand reached out from behind the curtain, pale, thin, with an ID band that said, Nurse Bailey. I ran. The hallway stretched longer than it should have, like it was breathing. The lights above me flickered faster, chasing me. Every monitor in the rooms I passed started beeping. Heartbeats, hundreds of them. The loop. I burst into the nurse's station, empty, except the monitors were showing security feeds. Each one was static except one. Room 413. On the screen, I saw myself, standing there, holding the same chart. Then the version of me on screen looked up and smiled directly at the camera. The intercom buzzed again. Nurse Bailey to room 413. I looked at the clock. 2:13 a.m. Again, the ending. I don't know how many nights I've done this. The coffee never tastes different. The lights always flicker the same way. Every time I think I wake up, I'm still here. The same hallway, the same room, the same voice calling my name. They call it the graveyard shift because some of us never clock out. The hum of the fluorescent lights was louder than the radio. It was 2:47 a.m., and I'd been staring at the same aisle for 10 minutes. Canned beans, energy drinks, and instant noodles lined up like soldiers. The graveyard shift at Miller's 24-hour gas off Highway 9 wasn't supposed to be hard. Just keep the lights on, keep the till balanced, and try not to fall asleep. The world outside the glass was nothing but black. Even the highway lights had gone out hours ago. The man at the doorway, soft ding made me flinch. The bell above the door, a man walked in, tall, thin face, half hidden by a baseball cap pulled low. His clothes were soaked like he'd walked through a thunderstorm, but the sky had been dry all night. "Evenin'," I muttered, forcing a smile. He didn't answer. He just walked up and down the aisles, his boots squeaking against the linoleum. When he reached the counter, he leaned in and said softly, "Is it midnight yet?" I laughed nervously. "You're a bit late for that. It's nearly 3. He didn't move, didn't blink. Then he turned and walked straight out the door without buying anything. I watched through the glass as he crossed the empty parking lot, only he didn't. He stopped halfway, and then he was gone. No sound. No car, nothing. The second visit at 3:02 a.m. The bell rang again. The same man. Same clothes. Same dripping water pooling beneath him. "Is it midnight yet?" he asked again, in the exact same tone. I swallowed hard. "Sir, you were just here." He tilted his head. His mouth twitched, like he was trying to remember how to smile. Then he said, "It's almost time. Keep the door open." Before I could respond, he turned and walked out again, vanishing into the same patch of darkness. CCTV, my hands were shaking as I pulled up the security cameras. Camera 1, the aisles empty. Camera 2, the front door open, swinging slightly. Camera 3, the parking lot. A still frame of the man just standing there, motionless only. The timestamp on the footage said 11:59 p.m. Every screen read the same time. Every clock in the store had frozen. I looked up at the wall clock above the counter, 11:59. The third visit the bell didn't ring this time, but I heard footsteps slow. Sticky, wet. He was back, standing in aisle 3 between the potato chips and the batteries, staring straight at the security camera mounted above him. And I swear the camera feed showed him behind me, not in front. I spun around. No one there. Then the intercom buzzed softly, even though it had never worked in the months I'd been there. A voice whispered through it. My voice. "Don't turn around again." The gas pumps, the lights outside flickered. The pumps began ticking as if cars were fueling up. But there were no cars. Each pump's digital display scrolled with numbers that made no sense. 11:59. 11:59 to 11:59. I grabbed the phone to call my boss, but the line was dead. The sound that came through instead was static, and underneath it, a faint ticking, like a clock struggling to restart. Then I heard it again, from outside. A low voice repeating over and over. "Is it midnight yet? Is it midnight yet? Is it midnight yet?" The words came from everywhere. The pumps, the speakers, even the walls. The mirror window, there's a large glass pane behind the counter. On normal nights, it shows the parking lot. Tonight, it showed the inside of the store, but from an angle that didn't exist. I saw myself standing there, holding the phone, and behind me, the man, smiling now. He leaned close to the reflection, his eyes black and hollow. Then he raised a hand and pointed at the clock behind me. It flicked once. Les 12 am. Subscribe for more true horror, because darkness never sleeps. Everything went dark. The aftermath: when the lights came back on, the store looked normal. The clock said 3 a.m. again. The floor was dry. No footprints, no puddles. I thought maybe I'd blacked out from exhaustion, until I checked the cameras. The footage showed me standing at the counter for 3 hours, not moving once. Eyes wide open, smiling. The boss said the store had been closed for maintenance years ago, after an employee vanished during a night shift. He laughed when I told him my story, said I was tired. But every night since, when the highway goes quiet, the lights in that old gas station flicker back on, and the bell rings just once. I used to think night shifts were peaceful. No noise, no customers, no chaos. Just you, the security monitors, and your thoughts. But after what happened at Ravencore Storage Facility, I've learned that sometimes, silence is just the sound of something watching you back. The routine: I worked the midnight to 6 a.m. shift, guarding miles of stacked crates and machinery. The building sat on the edge of town, a concrete skeleton filled with echoes. Every hour, I'd do a camera sweep. Every 2 hours, a patrol. Simple, boring, predictable, until the power went out one night, and the cameras came back showing something that shouldn't have been there. The camera in aisle B13, when the backup generator kicked in. All 16 monitors flickered back to life, except one. Camera 13, the feed was darker than usual, grainy, as if it were filmed through fog. In the center of the frame stood a man, still facing away from the camera. I zoomed in. He was wearing a security uniform. My uniform. I grabbed the radio. Control, this is Unit 4. You got someone assigned to be 13 tonight. No answer. Just static. I called again. Nothing. Then, on the monitor, the man turned around, and I froze, because it was me. The first patrol. My flashlight beam shook as I walked down the steel aisles of B section. The air was colder here, thick and metallic. Every footstep echoed 10 times louder than it should have. Aisle A12, aisle B10, B11, B12, and then B13. The door was sealed with a rusted padlock. No one had used this section in years. Company records said it was shut down after an internal incident. Subscribe for more true horror, because darkness never sleeps. But the padlock was broken, hanging open. I pushed the door. It groaned like it hadn't moved in decades. The whispers inside was nothing but rows of crates stacked to the ceiling, each one labeled with a 6-digit number. No descriptions, no markings. Then I heard it, a faint whisper coming from somewhere behind the stacks. Not words, just breathing. I stepped closer, sweeping the flashlight around, and that's when I saw a monitor, a small, dusty CCTV screen, sitting on top of one of the crates, still plugged in. It showed the warehouse. Live.I leaned closer. The screen showed me standing there, and behind me, another me, walking slowly toward the camera. I I spun around. Nothing. The beam of my flashlight cut through. Empty air, but the breathing didn't stop. It got closer, then the screen flickered and went dark. The locked room by the time I got back to the control office. My hands were shaking too hard to hold the radio. All the monitors were now showing B13 the same aisle from different angles. Even cameras that shouldn't have been active. And on every single one, there I was, walking, looping, repeating the same motion. Turn left. Stop, turn right. The time stamp didn't change. 2:16 a.m. I checked the wall clock. 2:16, no ticking. Just silence. The recording guy tried to eject the surveillance tape, but the console wouldn't open. The buttons felt warm, like the metal was alive. A distorted voice came through the speakers. Keep watching. I stared at the screens. The figure on the feed looked straight up directly into the camera. Then he smiled, a slow, deliberate grin that didn't belong on my face. Then, one by one, the other figures started appearing, more versions of me. Dozens, all walking in different aisles. Every single one stopped at the same time, looked up, and whispered something in unison. Stay for the shift. The light tall power went out again. The generator's hum died, but I could still see a glow coming from down the hallway. The exact direction of B13. Something inside me, call it curiosity, call it madness, made me walk toward it. When I reached the door, the light was pulsing behind the crates, and the air smelled like burning plastic. There was another monitor there, bigger, newer, running without power. It showed the control room empty. Then, I walked into frame. Except I was still standing in front of the monitor. I reached out toward the screen, and the me inside it did the same. When our hands touched the glass, it was warm. And then I felt it, something pulling from the other side. The next morning, they found me sitting in the security chair, staring at the static on the screens. My name tag was gone. The tapes were blank. Management said the cameras had been down all night, so the footage didn't exist. They replaced me the next week, but sometimes, when the new guards review the footage, they say they see someone in the background walking through the aisles of B13. Even though it's sealed again, he never looks at the camera. Until 2:16 a.m. Then he turns around and smiles. The open 24-hour sign outside Marla's diner had been buzzing for years, a faint neon hum against the endless desert night. I'd worked there so long I could tell the time by the songs on the jukebox, even though the clock above the counter hadn't moved past 12:01 in forever. Subscribe for more true horror, because darkness never sleeps. People came and went. Truckers, drifters lonely. Souls chasing coffee and quiet. But lately, they didn't seem to leave. The regulars, it started small. A man in a trucker's cap sat at booth 5 every night. Always ordered the same black coffee. Always left the same $5 bill. The same one. The ink never faded. The creases never changed. Then there was the young woman in the red jacket. She'd sit by the window, watching the road like she was waiting for someone. When the jukebox played, she'd hum along, same song, every time, Blue Moon. No one touched the jukebox anymore. It wasn't even plugged in. The stranger one night, around 3 a.m., the bell over the door jingled softly. A stranger walked in, tall, clean-cut, wearing a coat too heavy for desert weather. He sat at the counter and smiled. "You've been busy." I blinked. "Sorry, have we met?"